Well, so I struggled. It's not an easy thing, because you are trying to do very separate things, and I think that's partly why I was drawn to the citizen science model, was that I see citizen science as a way to really integrate all those aspects. And what I try to do is I involve both undergrads in my research. I teach about the research that I do to undergrads, and then I also involve citizens in the research process. So in the same way that I'm educating them about science, I'm also gaining data that I couldn't get in any other way. And so I've tried to have a model that really melds all three of those functions into one. Well, I think there's two main reasons, and one is like for the issues that I deal with are often sort of with the environment, and people need to be informed about what's happening in the environment so that they can make good choices both in the marketplace and in the voting booth about what's going to happen to our ecosystem for years down the road. And the other reason is that a lot of our environmental problems, and especially in terms of what I would do with entomology, they deal with changes that are subtle, but that are important, and they go across the whole continent. And in some cases, they're worldwide. And if you just go out by yourself, or maybe with a small crew of undergrads, then you can't take enough samples to really see what's happening out there. And so we need citizens out there to be our eyes and ears, and to get us the data that we need to track these major changes. So we can't do the science that we need to do without them, and I think we really play a role in teaching them about the research process and teaching them about what's going on with the environment. I think if you're going to depend on citizens being confident about what's coming out of the university, then they need to not think of the research process as just some magic that goes on in the ivory tower. Because I think that leads to sort of mistrust about it, or on the other hand, it can do two things. It can be they mistrust it, and they think, oh, it's just all hand waving, like I'm doing now, or they think it's they trust it too much, and they think, oh, this is done by some process that I can't possibly understand, and so I'll just take whatever scientist says something to me, I'll take that at face value. And what I would like people to see is there's nothing magic about the research. The research process in its heart, especially environmental research, is incredibly simple. We just go out and we're making observations under different conditions, and you can do that in your own backyard as well or better than we can in some cases. Ladybugs are incredibly important predators of pests in both natural and agro-ecosystems. So we couldn't grow the food and fiber that we need to survive without ladybugs. If they weren't there, pests would just take over our crops, and even with all the pesticides, there wouldn't be enough that we could do to produce those things. And so it's important to conserve these ladybugs and other beneficial insects. And we know that it's a diverse complex of ladybugs that gives us the best pest control. If we start getting just one or two species, then we're in big trouble, because they can't do the job by themselves. Not only are ladybugs economically important, but they're also incredibly charismatic, is that most people have a positive view of ladybugs. You know, if you try to hand people a spider or a snake, then they're sometimes scared of it. And also you can't, people like to watch birds, but you can't go out and pick up a bird, and you can't handle it, and you can't hold it in a dish the way that you can with a ladybug. So they're charismatic, you can handle them, and they're very easy to identify by their markings. Just by the spotting pattern, which is like artwork on their backs, you can tell one species from another, and so that's important. All ladybugs are not, in fact, the same, and that's one of the main, whenever we go out and make a presentation about ladybugs, is one of the main comments that we get is, wow, I didn't realize there were different kinds of ladybugs. And in fact, there's almost 450 species in the U.S. And even out, if you go out in your own backyard, or if you go out into a field, you're probably going to find 7 or 8 species in any given field. And so there really is a lot of variation. And not only is there variation, but they all have a job to do, and they all do their jobs just like we all do. They all do their jobs a little bit differently, and so no one ladybug can give us all the work that needs to be done.